Very good morning and welcome to this technical parallel session 12th Hall D. Today we have with us Dr. Anil Joseph, who will be chairing the session, and along with him we have Engineer Padmanabhan Ji from IG Car Kalpakam. He will be the co-chair, and we have one special lecture by Professor Nilima Satyam from IIT Indore, and after that, we have presentations. 5 presentations are there in this session. On behalf of the organizing committee, I extend a hearty welcome to Dr. Anil Joseph, and I have the pleasure of introducing him. Dr. Anil Joseph is the Managing Director of Geostructurals Limited, a leading foundation and structural consultancy firm based at Cochin. He has provided consultancy for more than 2,000 high-rise structures and many landmark infrastructure projects in India and abroad in his last 30 years of professional career. And he is also Managing Director of CE Cons Private Limited, a constructions firm specialized in the execution of pile foundations, and also Director of Engineers Diagnostics Center Private Limited, firm specialized in geotechnical investigation and retrofitting. He was also the National Executive Committee member of IGS from 2012 to 2020, and also Secretary of IGS Kochi chapter. So I extend a hearty welcome to you, sir. Kindly, I request you to chair this session and chair this session. Friends, I also have the pleasure of introducing to you Engineer Padmanabhan Ji from IG Car Kalpakam. Padmanabhan is the scientific officer at the Department of Atomic Energy, IG Car Kalpakam. He is very actively working in the area of ground improvement, deep excavation, and site investigation. I extend a hearty welcome to Padmanabhan Ji and request him to co-chair this session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now I request the chair, Dr. Anil Joseph, and co-chair Padmanabhan Ji to carry forward this session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, all, and good morning, the participants. Thank you, Professor Dinesh, for the introduction and the opportunity. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for giving us this opportunity, and it's a wonderful conference going on in a unique style in the online platform, and congratulations for the organizers for doing it so wonderfully well, bringing speakers across the globe and sharing their experience so that we all improve in our technical knowledge. Today, I'm happy to be the chair of this session, the parallel technical session 12 in Hall D, and we have a special lecture by Professor Nilima Satyam of IIT Indore on forecasting rainfall-induced landslides using empirical relations, case studies from Western Ghats. So before I introduce Nilima Satyam, I would also like to welcome my co-chair, Padmanabhan, who will be moderating the sessions and timing for the 5 papers which we are going to have by Gayatri Devi. Then we will have a talk by Sendil Kumar, and then Remya. Then we have by Anil Cherian and by Prasad. So there are very interesting sessions are also coming up after this. So let me have the opportunity to introduce Nilima Satyam to this guy, August Kadri. Nilima, a good friend, a dynamic personality, and a person whom we are looking for, because each year India loses about 400 to 500 lives due to landslide. And I am from Kerala, where we are very badly affected, and every year 200 to 300 people loses their life due to these landslides happening. And forecasting landslides can make a big change around and can save lives. And so this is a great work which is being done, and I have presences across the country. And let me introduce her formally. She is an associate professor in Department of Civil Engineering in Indian Institute of Technology, Indore, India, from November 2017 onwards. And she is a visiting researcher in Institute of Geophysics, University of Stuttgart, Germany, assistant professor in Earthquake Engineering Research Center, International Institute of Information Technology, Hyderabad, from the period February 2009 to November 2017, and JSPS Fellow in January 2013 to March 2013 in Geotechnical Engineering Laboratory, University of Tokyo, Japan. She was a visiting faculty in National Academy of Construction, Hyderabad, India, from April 2007 to February 2009, and she was a research assistant in Department of Civil Engineering, IIT Delhi, from the period July 2002 to August 2006. And her research areas interest goes on to geotechnical earthquake engineering, dynamic soil structure interaction analysis, liquefaction hazard and mitigation, environmental geotechnics, landslide research, rock mechanics, and underground structure. She has many awards and recognition. And I was fortunate to work with her in the National Executive Committee for a couple of terms. And over to you, Neelima, for the session on the forecasting rainfall-induced landslides using empirical relations, case studies from Western Ghats.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anil, and it's my pleasure to give a talk in this international conference. I sincerely thank all the organizing committee, Professor S.V. Dinesh, especially for inviting me. Thank you so much. Today my topic is not completely on earthquake part, but it's related to one of the major geohazards, that's landslides. 15% of our country's landmass is highly vulnerable to landslide hazards. Every now and then during monsoon season, either in Himalayas or in Western or Eastern Ghats, we do have a major event or landslide event, which is causing so much of loss of agricultural land, because not only life, losing an agricultural land is a prime thing, because people are literally becoming coolies after losing, farmers are becoming coolies who are, after the particular event. So this is actually a very important hazard, which was not looked in detail or whatever it is. So we are very good at understanding or giving a solution after, in terms of mitigation after an event happens, but how to forecast it, because a landslide that happens in the 2 a.m. or at 2 p.m. has a huge difference in terms of its risk. So I'll be taking up this particular thing because this is one of the ongoing research with me, supported from ISRO and also from DST. So since it is supported from the government institutions or sponsoring agencies, so this is a copyright thing, and most of the work what I'm presenting not even published. So that's why it completely belongs to me and my group at IIT Indore. So coming to the landslide research, actually landslide can be broadly, triggered because of either rainfall or because of the earthquake event, like Sikkim earthquake, what we have seen, and wherein huge amount of tunnels were being completely collapsed during the Teesta Project 4 or whatever. Some of the major hydropower projects had a huge damage to the infrastructure. So there is either rainfall-induced landslides or co-seismic landslides, if we broadly classify. And when it comes to the co-seismic landslides, this is actually very, very complex to understand. So we are working on Uttarakhand at present for co-seismic landslides with the support from the DST, wherein since we don't have much data, it is becoming very difficult for us to classify which is triggering what, like either earthquake triggered a landslide event or a landslide triggered an earthquake. What is understanding this multi-hazard physics is something which is very, very crucial at present in the country. Secondly, I'll be focusing today basically on rainfall induced, because even if the reason when I classify the landslides in terms of these two triggering factors, what we observed is the deep-seated landslides are because of rainfall induced. So I can say, at least from my personal experience, rainfall induced landslides are one of the major serious, either it is in the seismic area or in the non-seismic area, or followed by an earthquake or not followed by an earthquake. So this will be topic of my research. At present, we are working on these three major parts of the country. One is in the Darjeeling Himalayas, wherein most of the work we are doing the real-time monitoring of a Chibo, Lak 2 landslide in Chibo region. so which is of the first kind in the country. And for the last 4.5 years, real-time monitoring is happening. For every 10 minutes, we are getting data to our IT Indore site. So most of the work is published, so I'm not going to talk about this part. And the second part is like Uttarakhand, which we just started. I'll just give you highlights because this is a co-seismic landslide. Taking the recent Dhauliganga event, I would like to just brief you some little research in this particular talk because of the time constraint. But more focus, I would like to focus on this particular area, that is Western Ghats, that is Idukki and Wayanad parts of the Kerala. These two districts are worst hit districts, and I should thank the many people, especially if it comes to Western Ghats, including Dr. Anil Joseph, for extending his support in carrying out field tests, and also the state disaster management authorities and other government officials, including forest department. So huge amount of work is ongoing with this particular area. And coming to the warning system, see, unlike other geohazards, like, it can be liquefaction or even seismic hazards. So unlike that, early warning is possible with landslides. Okay, so how to do that? We need to have a proper integration of all the models that we have at present in the literature, and what we have done for generating an early warning system, how we enhance the empirical or the conventional early warnings with our real-time soil wetness parameters and land cover details, especially which we applied for Western Ghats, is what I'm going to discuss. And in addition to that, what I would like to just explain, this part I'm not going to detail in my future slides, but I'll just give you highlight because this is something which is one of the very important or interesting part to me. Most of the type of landslides, because based upon different failure mechanisms, that there are different types, and one of the very distinct type of landslide we observe in this parts of Western Ghats are debris flows. So unlike commercial software which we have in the market like RAMS, so we developed our own tool like DFS 2D, wherein it can it's a generalized model where you can completely track the debris track and you with entrainment, and it also gives us the velocity and height of the debris flow along with the erosion rate at different grids during the track. This is actually, unlike other model, the commercial model, it takes actually 3 different rheologies. So that makes it very unique. And this has been supported completely by ISRO. And the inputs are you have to input the DM map for it and some more site-specific parameters, which I can talk in later. So we were validating this with taking the different examples from Italy and China, in addition to the examples from the Indian terrain. So this is actually the overview of my talk. So I'll start with the Uttarakhand, wherein co-seismic landslides, are very much possible. And if you talk about Uttarakhand, in this particular thing, first step that what we have done is we have done the detailed PSH analysis. So in this present study, it was carried out using the Poisson model and to evaluate the seismic hazard potential of this particular state. And what we have done is we have considered earthquakes, that is MW, which is equal or above magnitude 4, was been considered from 1900 to till date within 300 kilometer radius in the state. And then hazard parameters were calculated using, Gutenberg-Richter relationship. If you see here from the table, there is a AB values for our present study have been been given. When we try to compare it with the other literature, because Uttarakhand, seismic hazard, people have been doing it for very quite long time. But what is the difference with our work is basically the estimated PGA values of this particular study was ranging from 0.26 to 0.52 G for 10% probability. And if you see from the PGA map at the bedrock, and also with the probability of 0.3 to 0.6 for 2% probability. So the maximum PGA values that is estimated was 0.52 G and 0.6 G for 10% and 2% probability is expected near MCT. So these results are compared with the previous studies of this region, the only difference is in implementing the probabilistic methodology, considering different models to represent the seismic sources and the attenuation information relationship. So this is what we have done as a first step. And then later, the interesting part which we just started, and of course, is like landslide signal processing. So the seismic signal data of landslide event is very different from an earthquake event, because landslide signals are like relatively weak and inevitably affected by noise interference. What we have done is like, we have taken the data from almost like 5 stations. If you see Joshimath, Lohghat, Pitogra, Uttarkashi and Dehradun stations, and this landslide seismic signal has been denoised by using the empirical model or mode decomposition, which we call EMD, and BP filter methods, and Fourier transform and STFT power spectral density analysis will be applied to the landslide seismic signal and higher seismic signal to noise ratio, that is SNR, to obtain the time frequency signal characteristics of this entire landslide process. Finally, combined with the landslide field survey data, site-specific data, the dynamic process of the landslide will be reconstructed based on the seismic signal. For this, what we have taken is like we have taken the recent Dhauli-Ganga event as one of the classic example. If you see from the figure, it shows the empirical mode deformation, that is EMD of the raw waveform. Okay, and this landslide event generates a non-linear, non-stationary seismic signal, wherein like this non-stationary, non-linear signal is decomposed into a set of orthogonal components called the intrinsic mode function IMF using this EMD. So this is one of the very, very new thing that's happening, and this is our flowchart to carry out the landslide signal processing. It's highly multidisciplinary research that's ongoing at present, and wherein like we can reconstruct the past events, and also in terms of its location, initiation time, and landslide landing time. So then the recognition and characterization of this particular event, we have taken 2 recent examples. One is like, as I said, Dhauli-Ganga event, which happened on February 7, 2021, and another one is a completely earthquake event that happened, Assam earthquake, and April 28 and 2021. I just want to give you how the landslide signal processing is different from seismic signal processing, because landslide seismic signals have some unique characteristics which can be used to recognize and of course differentiate a landslide event from a local earthquake. By studying this waveform data in frequency domain and in time domain, as you see from this figure 1, it's a waveform of February 7, 2021 Dhauli-Ganga event, which is recorded at Uttarkashi station, which is around almost 110 kilometers, whereas the figure 2 is April 28 Assam earthquake, which is recorded on Tezpur station. So conventional earthquake source, that is locating methods, are based upon distinct P and S wave pickup, but waveform signatures of this landslide, they lacks very clear P and S phases, and it is characterized by a very unique waveform factor, and that is actually important to recognize and characterize the landslide event. So just some results over here, like if you see from these 2, I just want to give you very briefly about this part, because still like we are still working on this particular code and have some what to call errors still now, so that's why I could not give you the complete results. And if you see here, this is one on the time frequency spectrum, that a landslide event from a distinct to isosceles triangle kind of thing pattern is shown, if you see in the right side, and which is substantially different from the right angle triangle pattern, which is typically for a local earthquake. In this case, is the Assam earthquake. So seismic signals that are generated from this landslide, they have a very low frequency range, with less than almost like 2 to 2.5 hertz. But for an earthquake, it varies, basically from 5 or 10 to 50 hertz or so. So this is the basic difference to identify a event that is located landslide event because of post-seismic landslide event basically. So coming back to rainfall induced landslide, even the post-seismic landslide also, like in the case of the Uttarakhand region, wherein the landslides are very severe during the monsoons, because the rainfall is actually the strong in creating bigger events in terms of deep-seated landslides, etc. So now I will be focusing on rainfall induced landslides. If you see here, we do have different approaches in the for thresholds, because forecasting can be carried out by proper, identification of the threshold condition, which could trigger a landslide event. And we do have from basic empirical models to highly advanced algorithm models, which we tried for this particular region, which I'll be explaining. And integrating this with the rainfall forecast for developing an early warning is something so crucial at a regional scale, either, at district level, because administratively, if you look at it, that is a district level, or at any, particular state level. So temporal probability occurrence of the landslides is also something which we looked at it. So these are the things which I'll be focusing in this particular presentation in detail. So there are 4 characteristic times when we want to look at the early warning for landslide, like, evolution delay, lag, and now casting delay and intervention delay. So these are the times which are very necessary, in making some sort of decision for, alerting the people or alarming the public. So coming to the thresholds, rainfall thresholds are most widely used tools for forecasting rainfall-induced landslides, and these predictions are based on rainfall forecast and the historical relationship between the occurrence of a rainfall and a landslide in the study area. The performance of these thresholds are generally, often they're different for different regions, because depending upon the terrain properties and the quality of the data that we have. And hence, when we are designing any warning system, because we did this thresholds, forecast, landslide forecasting even for Kalimpong, but, the models that were performing well for that region were not performing well for, Western Ghats, especially in the state of, in the district of Idukki, because, there is a huge, there are different parameters, geomorphological parameters, geohydrological parameters, in addition to the site-specific geotechnical parameters, which are really controlling the landslide event. So hence, while designing an early warning system, the preferred method is determination of the rainfall thresholds using multiple approaches and finding out the best suited one using the quantitative comparisons. So what we have done is, like, statistical thresholds are usually, they define using parameters associated with rainfall. They are classified into empirical, probabilistic, algorithm-based, and hydrometeorological thresholds. And the process that's based thresholds involves slope stability modeling to determine the critical rainfall using a precise soil parameters, which we could collect from the field. So I just took only one particular case study to explain you in detail. So now I would like to take part of Idukki, that is which is one of the worst hit district during the 2018 disaster, with more than 2,000 landslides in this region. If you see from this figure in the slope map of the Idukki, the geography of the area consists of slopes as steep as 80 degrees, and the elevation is almost like 2,600 meters. That's a range, and a significant share of the population in this district had houses in these unstable slopes, which were destroyed in the 2018 landslides, irrespective of its building technology. So what we observed is, like, since like 2018, like, before that also there may be severe events that's been happening there, but since 2018 the recurrence of these events have been increased exponentially in this region, and 97% of the major roads in this district cut through the rugged mountains and the hills, which are often blocked due to these landslides in the monsoon period. So it is one of the very interesting study area. I'll explain you what actually interests us, especially when it talk to the Idukki part of Kerala. The rainfall data we have collected from daily resolution, actually from 4 different rain gauge stations which are operated by IMD in this entire district, and the distribution of this rainfall is not uniform throughout the district. Dynamic, it's very, very dynamic. Rainfall is so dynamic, and of course it's localized also. And in the long-term rainfall analysis was conducted, it's found that the average annual rainfall varies from less than 1,000 mm in the northeastern parts to around, almost like 5,000 near Pirumudu. That's an area. The variation of this annual rainfall from 4 rain gauges, and the district average is plotted as shown in this figure. And the difference in the rainfall conditions will lead to the overestimation or underestimation of the intensity and duration values if we consider the average rainfall. Hence, the rainfall event that is associated with each landslide was found out based on spatial distribution of these 4 rain gauges. When we have made the susceptibility maps also, which I'm not discussing here, and some parts of the work is already published, and you can find it out in my Google Scholar. So the already susceptible maps which were being there with the state disaster management authorities are not at all of no use, because wherever they say that there's a stable slope, they're completely unstable since 2018. So there's a the mismatch in the existing hazard maps at the state disaster management data. So next one, what we have done is like to identify a reference rain gauge is a challenging task, what we found as explained. Especially when the number of available rain gauges are limited, one of the most common practices is to choose the rain gauge based on its proximity to the landslide location. So what we have done in this is we divided the district into 4 eastern polygons based on the location of the rain gauge. Like P1 polygon is occupied by a flat and a plain terrain. P2 is located in the eastern hilly sector of the study area, and P3 represents the central hilly sector. And P4 contains a kind of flanks of the mountain and the hills immediately at the foot of the mountain side. So then each polygon is assumed to be an average of similar rainfall condition with a reference rain gauge. And this method of developing a data set is shown in the figure also. Then what we have done for all the landslide events that happened in this eastern polygon, for suppose P1, the readings from R1 are considered, and the procedure was same for all the landslide events. And the readings corresponding to the landslide events were recorded by an individual reference rain gauge, then merged to a single database. Because one of the major challenge is creating this fine database or data set. Then what we have done is like for issuing alert, the total area of the district has been divided into 4 considering the location of the gauge, and each unit is referred as one reference area. And this approach has been adopted in account for spatial and climatic variability across the particular district of study. So then the middle area of Idukki, that is R1, has a rugged topography which with a slope towards the west, and the hilly terrains can be divided into hill ranges, plateau and foothills. And based upon this, major part of the district was formed in the hill range, which is in R2 and R4 of the Western Ghats. So then to understand this intensity duration threshold, we use a power law equation which has 2 fundamental assumptions. The first one is that with the increase in the rainfall intensity, there is a non-linear increase in the probability of the occurrence of the event. That's a landslide event. Below this threshold, the likelihood of the initiation of this landslide is low, and above the threshold, the probability of occurrence of the event, that's landslide event, increases non-linearly. And the second assumption is that the initiation of the slide decreases as the duration of the rainfall increases. So we have developed a threshold, as you see here from this figure 21, with 5% probability. Okay. And if you see here, there are 2 threshold lines, one is the best fit, with our ID relation of 2.54 d to the power of -0.16. And whereas, the second one is it's a logarithmic thing. Sorry. Next one is we want to start with the algorithm based approach. So for that, we use a sigma model, which takes the standard deviation of a statistical distribution as a parameter for the threshold definition. And this is widely applied model throughout the world, especially, my collaborator from Italy, he's actually developed this model. And what we have done is we modified this, integrating the site-specific soil wetness parameter into this model. This is actually modified the conventional model of sigma into the site-specific thing. So in this model, what it has to do is the algorithm for this model, it uses different precipitation curves, which we called as R curves, as input. And this compares the values of the cumulated rainfall recordings for a specific duration with this precipitation curve. And the duration is determined by trial and error, 1 sigma, 1.5 sigma, something like that, so that, based on the historical data, rainfall data, and it considers both short-term and long-term effect, and hence the duration for different levels of warning and different types of slope failures can be different. So using this particular algorithm, a warning level is issued every day based on the rainfall. Alerts can be issued for every day again based on the rainfall threshold. and accumulated rainfall recording for daily time steps were compared to the precipitation curve to issue an alert. So this is one of the very interesting and very effective model which can be applied. Then this is actually, we want to understand the the efficiency of this model, or we have to compare this. So what we have done is like, we have taken the end day accumulates corresponding to the rainfall forecast with the threshold curves and to issue an alert. If the threshold is crossed, an alert is issued based upon the severity of the possible landslide event. So this algorithm, what it considers the effect of short-term rainfall to identify the most critical rainfall and issue a red alert. If the extreme condition doesn't exist, it searches for the medium criticality case for short-term rainfall, and if the threshold is crossed, then an orange alert is issued. For both red and orange alerts, only short-term rainfall is considered, as they lead to very fast, shallow landslides, while long-term rainfall is considered issued and ordinarily critically level or the yellow alert for slow movements. If we get both high and moderate levels of criticality conditions are not crossed, then the algorithm considers the long-term rainfall and check if the threshold is crossed with the nth day considered or not. So this is the way how the complete forecasting and alerting system goes. And then we also try to find out confusion matrix for quantitative comparison with true positive, false positive, true negative, and false negative. So we want to reduce the false alarms, because this complete system will lose people will lose the trust in the complete warning system. So for that, what we have done is like, to optimize this, the procedure of optimization is used to reduce the false alarms and fine-tuning the thresholds. What we have done is like, the events which have issued false alarms were considered in the process, and then threshold value is increased in minor increments so that the false alarms can be completely avoided, with the condition that no true alarm is missed. So it's not like though landslide happened, but the system could not predict it. So then it is a very dangerous thing. Then optimized thresholds were then validated using the rainfall and the landslide data of the 2018, because 2018 is one of the major disaster that happened during that year. Next, during the period of validation, then a decision algorithm was used to issue alert different levels for each day, which were compared with the occurrence or non-occurrence of the landslide to validate the model. Classical approach of this confusion matrix was used to evaluate and to quantify the performance of the model for each reference area. As I said, like, we do had 4 reference areas like R1, R2, R3, and R4 based upon the local geomorphology and geohydrological details. So then we found out the efficiency, sensitivity, and likelihood ratio of each region for this particular validation part. Next one is like empirical threshold using automatic algorithm. So what we have done in this particular one is like the calculation of the thresholds for rainfall induced landslides. So which is like CTRLP, used an algorithm based approach. What it has to do is like, first it extracts the rainfall events automatically from the daily precipitation data input, and from the extracted event, the rainfall conditions that triggered a landslide were identified, and it is used to derive the rainfall thresholds for that particular region. So this tool considers a buffer zone around each landslide location to search for the rain gauge, and it identifies the triggering event. So what we have done in our study is like, a search radius of 20 kilometers is considered due to the low rain gauge density. So then algorithm also considered the delay time between the end of the rainfall and occurrence of the landslide. So that is another important aspect of this particular analysis. So in this particular one, it first determines the total event rainfall and duration of the rainfall of all the identified events, and then minimize the effect of spatial variability of the rainfall duration. Either it is a single or a multiple rainfall condition which can cause a failure in the slope. So then we have tried to see a different probabilities of 1%, 5, 10, 20, and 50% as it's shown, T5 to T50. So which we termed as, for 5% probability, T5, etc. So thresholds and related uncertainties were estimated from this multiple rainfall conditions which can trigger an event. Then we applied the probabilistic approach using Bayes' theorem by considering both triggering and non-triggering rainfalls for analysis. Probability-based models are more informative and they provide better option to provide the extreme events. So what we have done is like, we applied a Bayes approach or Bayesian approach, which is very, very commonly used to define the probability thresholds, like PXL is a conditional probability of occurrence of a rainfall of magnitude X when the landslide occurs. So this is also called likelihood, like P of L is the prior probability of occurrence of a landslide, regardless of occurrence of a rainfall of magnitude P of X, which we generally do. So that we have carried out this particular probabilistic approach, both one-dimensional and two-dimensional. And from this, what we found is intensity was found to be the most significant variable with the maximum ratio between the posterior and prior probability. And the maximum posterior probability when the control parameter is D was found to be very less, like where the values within the case of like E or I, that is event or intensity respectively. So detailed probabilistic assessment was done. This is a two-dimensional to evaluate the joint occurrence of two parameters. So 2D Bayes analysis were conducted because with the data, it's not just, as I said, like rainfall is such a dynamic parameter. It's not just only intensity or duration. There is like other parameters of rainfall, like antecedent rainfall, that plays a very crucial role in, triggering the landslide event. So the maximum probability value, what we got it for EI plane, with an intensity value was almost like less than 0.5 mm per hour. And the event rainfall is about 100 mm to 200 mm with a value of almost like 0.54. Then we also want to do hydrometeorological thresholds. So from this one, it is evident from the 2D plot that, even less severe rainfall event when falling on a moist soil, when the soil is already saturated condition, it can trigger a landslide in this region. And most of the landslide for which rainfall events were very less severe happen on days with higher soil wetness. So what we have tried to do is like we want to incorporate the site-specific parameter of soil wetness. So for that, what we have done, when the rainfall is severe and even dry soil can be susceptible to landslide, right? And the maximum probability was observed with the rainfall severity was between T20 and T50, and the soil wetness was between 0.8 and 0.1. You see here from this one, okay? So this is for different antecedent soil moisture conditions or data. This make it easier to decide the threshold line to be used. So ROC cost for all the models considered in this study or plotted as shown in this particular figure. And it is, we observe that the RS threshold, they cover a maximum area in the plane with an AUC of 0.96, whereas the empirical ED thresholds has the second highest AUC of almost like 0.8 from this comparative AUC analysis. So then quantitative comparison of all the different rainfall thresholds were being done, and this empirical threshold results in many false alarms, making it inadequate to use in an early warning system to be developed at a regional scale. And the number of false alarms can be considerably reduced by using the probabilistic rainfall thresholds, as you see from the table, and the number of false positive in case of the probability ED, ID or EI are much lesser than the other two models which we considered. So from this reduction in false alarms comes with a cost of higher number of missed alarms, that is like false negative. And so probabilistic rainfall thresholds have a high specificity value pointing to its ability wherein like we correctly forecast the days without landslides. So, but with the very less values of sensitivity. So that is one major observation which we could make it from this. Then another very interesting thing what we have done is like we applied the transient rainfall infiltration and grid-based regional slope stability model, which is called TRIGRS model. And for computing the transient pore pressure changes and the antecedent changes in the factor of safety due to the rainfall infiltration. So it is an actually analytical transient flow model in one-dimensional, and it represents the vertical infiltration in homogeneous isotropic material that occurred during the rainfall. So this we use actually for this TRIGRS model, like, it will calculate a factor of safety, and the failure is predicted when if it is less than 1, and the stability holds if it is higher than 1 as usual. But the depth jet where factor of safety first drops below 1 will be the depth of the landslide initiation. And this initiation depth depends upon the soil properties, that the site specific, and the time and depth of variation of the pressure head, which in turn depends upon the rainfall history during that particular period. So this we applied again for Idukki. In the starting, what we have done is like we used two DMs. It needs DM because it will calculate the factor of safety in each pixel when we divide into grids. So this analysis for the Idukki we carried out using the inventory data, and the soil properties were collected from different locations within the district to prepare the inputs for the model. I should thank Dr. Anil for providing us a lot of data from his firm. The region has been divided into 12 different zones based on the data that we collected, and the parameters were then calibrated for each zone separately, and then analysis was being done for two different resolution, as I said, like 30-meter resolution and 12.5 resolution, what we got. So 33% of the total area of the district is classified into very high susceptible landslide zone based upon the factor of safety that we calculated using TRI-GRS, and 69% of the total landslide that happened in the very high zone itself, and almost like 86% of the total landslide happens in these zones were classified into very high and high or medium susceptible regions. So again, as I said, like this is for 12.5 DM. As I say, like, you know, we tried with both the things to understand which one will perform better, because most of the regions we don't get a DM high good resolution DM maps also. And what we was observed that, you know, when a final resolution of 12.5 was used for this TRI-GRS model, the performance has improved slightly, but the improvement is not that significant, at least for this particular region. So this is the analysis details with the like, you know, factor of safeties and of course the susceptibility values which we could calculate. Then, so coming to the conclusions, just to go briefly. So what we have tried to do is like we want to understand we want to actually create a landslide early warning for this particular region at a very, you know, regional scale, wherein like district administration can operate by just looking at, you know, rainfall data, because training a people who can give a warning is also not that easy. So what we have done is like we are working closely with the state disaster management authorities, so wherein like we can develop a overall system and taking the site specific values. And here I just put you example of Idukki. Similarly, we are also working for Wayanad, which is we using multiple approaches that what we have, and varying the rainfall conditions across the district, because we have taken different all the parameters, especially because landslide is such a, it's not just, you know, particular, it's a highly multidisciplinary problem, wherein like we have to take the site specific geomorphological aspects, hydrological aspects, infiltration, erosion details, and also the land use, land cover. So there is a huge amount of parameters has to be inbuilt in this, and responsible rainfall events were identified using the nearest rain gauge approach. So actually, you know, of course, you know that there are several dams in this particular state, and several weather stations were being maintained by these dam authorities, but still we could not consider, because the rain gauges are of different, you know, types, and getting the data from different people from different rain gauges is not going to solve our problem. So then we have to bring it to a uniform database. So we have considered, that's the reason why we have considered the data, that the engaged data from, you know, the IMD data only, and then the area is divided into different alert zones for developing an operational landslide early warning system. And there's derived thresholds were compared quantitatively using a confusion matrix, as I explained you in my previous slide, to make a best fit model. And the probabilistic approach using the rainfall severity and the site specific soil wetness was found to be the best performing. But, you know, here also what we have done is like based upon the whatever the site specific geotechnical data, we could assign the soil wetness. But if we can have some instrumentation, at least in some highly you know, prone areas, and, you know, get a real time moisture data, you know, at least in the complete, you know, year, monsoon and pre-monsoon, post-monsoon times. So that will give us very good idea, and it can enhance the performance as well. And the process-based model, especially the TRI-GRS model, where we calculate the factor of safety at every pixel in the study area, it has an efficiency almost like 69% with a likelihood ratio of 2.35, which was using 12.5 DM. And we don't have the DM data. If we have a DM data of 0.3 meter, then we can make a better system. But, you know, that was not available or whatever reason. So so we could not do that with even the finer DM map. So the overall is like we could develop a very interactive, efficient landslide early warning, considering both rainfall and seismic part. Also seismic part I didn't add much for the core seismic because this is ongoing project, but this particular problem which I just explained you with only rainfall in the parts of Western Ghats has been just completed. So that's why I could explain you this. But integrating the another parameter, that is a seismic parameters, which we have been working with two seismic parameters, basically, PGV and Eris intensity, so that we are going to integrate in this threshold so that we can generate even for co-seismic landslides also forecasting part. So with this, I thank you again for your patient listening. And if you have any queries, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Nilima. Very excellent presentation covering a lot of data and right from the seismic hazard assessment probabilistic in Uttarakhand to the studies in Idiki, where the rainfall threshold is used to predict the landslide. So there are a couple of questions which has come up from Vinod from University of Wollongong. Thanks for the presentation. And I am wondering whether the yearly warning system will consider the inclinometers and flow pressure data in addition to the type of soil.
Okay, I just try to open the question. So hi, Dr. Vinod. Thanks for attending. I'm wondering whether the early warning system will consider the inclinometer and pore pressure data in addition. Yes, actually, I didn't present here, but for the another study area of my thing in Darjeeling Himalayas, where we instrumented a Chibo slope, which is one of the very active landslide region. So we could do that. Okay. So we could incorporate. That's what I was trying to tell in the starting itself. It is very site specific, and also we cannot apply the same model everywhere in developing a landslide early warning. It needs a huge amount of site specific data and integrate with the conventional models. The analysis of rainfall in the slope becomes challenging as the soil exhibit failure in drained condition. Any advice on mitigation stages of these landslides based on your modeling? Actually, I'm not working with the mitigation part, though there was a proposal from NSES Trivandrum asking for which type of failure, for how to handle debris or, mud flow or whatever, different types of how to give a case, a classic, solution sort of thing. But I'm not working on mitigation part of it. But as such, yes, at least the major idea of my particular research was forecasting in giving early warning and understanding the mechanics or the physics behind the failure. That's it. I'm not working on mitigation part yet. The basic another thing which I could not cover in this particular one is the debris flow, because Kuchimerla and Patumudi and all these areas, there is a huge track of debris fail, almost 3 to 3.5 kilometer tracks were happened. So for that we are working very detailedly. As I said, that was one of the very interesting project, and which is actually supported with ISRO, wherein we are making a very generalized model. Wherein we want to develop, find out along with entrainment, we want to track the track, because debris track, it will differ based upon the erosion and deposition rate and local, land cover, land use details, and other, even the frictional parameters at the site, everything do change. So they want to use this model so that they can track the debris future, even so that they can warn the people, to say what are to reduce the risk. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, Nilima, yeah, I have a doubt, Nilima, regarding this. So to make it very simple, can we have because you are studying on this landslide prediction, there are a couple of things like what for a general guidelines, what can be the angle of the slope which will start triggering, or which is a vulnerable area, and what will be the SPT value where we are safe. Suppose we conduct an SPT value and the layer of the strata is quite high. What will be the thickness which is vulnerable? The three simple questions. One, what will be the thickness of the strata which is vulnerable? What will be the SPT value range which is vulnerable? And what will be the angle of the slope which will be vulnerable?
Okay. I think you asked from the practitioner perspective, I guess. So Okay. So what I observed with the Kerala part is like, very loose overburden, and before that there was a rock, where you also helped us in doing this drilling and SPT, right? So most of the places, what we found is like very loose sediments, and then below that there was a rock, and the entire top overburden was completely washed out or slided down. So this is what is a very typical failure that we observed during our field visit. And as you say that, yes, some of the debris tracks, because of a long duration event, even very small slope, like not less than 40 degrees also were gone off during this particular, especially this study area. But I can say this for the Kalimpong, but I cannot say this for Kerala as such. As you asked like specific question, like, overburden, SPT, and the slope angle.
Yeah, understood.
Kalimpong, I could mention it because we monitored it actually. We've been monitoring for the last 4.5 years. That too real-time monitoring, first time in the country. And I feel very happy to be, PA for this particular project. But, we could not do monitoring for Western Ghats somehow, whatever, because of funding and all, we could not do that monitoring. But I cannot say specifically, like, this is the range of SPT, or this is the range of thickness. But as you point out, it's a good point. I'll try to.
Yeah, if we can work out, because you are making so much of studies across. So
yeah,
that
actually, at least some level of guidelines.
We'll be able to make a microsonation or make a mapping of vulnerable areas, so that we can have that system installed in the particular area, so that early prediction will be possible and lives can be saved on that. That's
I observed another problem in this one is like there is a dynamic change in the land use land cover in the last 10 years, if I look back. Okay, so because of these changes, huge changes, it's not like minor changes, there's a huge changes happened in the pattern, land use land cover pattern. So and another thing that what we observed is like the erosion rates are depending on this. So we could not exactly say that this is the value. Okay, if this land use land cover pattern doesn't change dynamically in the last 10 years, then at least we can make some guideline for the field practitioners or whoever urban planners to give some caution in their construction activity, because it is so dynamic in this region. It was not that easy, I feel personally.
Understood. Thank you very much. Any more questions? Co-chair, your remarks on the talk by Nilima.
Yeah, it was a very wonderful talk, particularly with respect to Western Ghats. That an early prediction for identifying the landslide. It is with more significant, because and another point is actually basically the instrumentation, field instrumentation part was touched upon. So it is a very significant aspect, because with the field instrumentation, the model predictions can be much more validated, as Professor pointed out. So it was a very interesting topic, and Professor also did extremely well.
So thank you, Nilima, for the session. Now, any more questions in the chat box? One second. Yeah. There is a question from Madhusudan, IIT Madras. What do you think could be the possible remedial measures for this scale of destruction?
Yeah, as I said, to mitigation part for Dr. Vinod's question, yes, there are several solutions, are many actually, but I don't know what to say. But as a geotechnical engineer, we are good at giving solutions. But my problem was only to understanding the physics. So I was only working on the physics behind the mechanism, not working on mitigation as such. But in the literature, we do have so many solutions, like, we have reinforcements, retaining walls, soil nailing. So there are so many solutions, and that need to be worked out, in detail for the particular problem, the site, project site. So, but as I said, like, I'm not working on mitigation part as such. So yes.
Yeah, thank you, Nilima.
Many solutions are there. So as a geotechnical engineer, I personally feel that we are good at giving solutions, and but my problem here is to understand the complex.
Nilima, you throw some light on the remedial measures, because people in the field are more interested on this aspect.
that is true, sir. But I want to do research core on the problem part. So that's why I didn't
Okay.
part. Yes, there are a lot of people have been working on soil nailing, right? So, and reinforced earth structures, people are working extensively on that.
Nailing may not work in this because the scale is very large. I think we will have a global failure in these cases.
And also the failure types are different, right?
Yeah.
So it is a huge, like somewhere rockfall is there in Uttarakhand. If I go, okay, and a huge amount of rock slides are happening because I'm working for one of the sites we are starting our monitoring there. And that is near Joshimath. So with BRO, so wherein like they have this rock problem, rockfall or rock slides, but that is not because of, that's only because of, rock cutting or like road construction activity. So that's a different part. And similarly, we have extremely different failure, slow failure in landslides, especially in Kerala, like huge amount of debris is a big serious problem. So because the track is almost 3.5 kilometers and washing out many houses on its path. So there are, because this failure mechanism is so different for different areas, and also the solutions can be distinct to the
each one calls for a different solution.
Yes, project site, it depends upon the project site. So mitigation measures can be multiple different types are there. We can combine it. So I know that someone is working even with sustainable approaches with vetiver or reinforcing with soil root. So people are working on that aspect also, like how to grow, which species has to grow and all. So we also observe different kinds of, the local native type of vegetation that grows is taking care of some of the aspects, because what we observed in my study area in Darjeeling Himalaya, especially Kalimpong, is like the natural type of vegetation was taking care, but what people have done, they removed that particular species because that was of no use or commercial of no use for the farmers. So they started growing something else which they can earn money or something. So that kind of changes, in land use, land cover also had a huge impact on the entire, potential for having an event. So it needs like, very specific, mitigation measures are specific to the site.
Yeah. Thank you, Nilima. Thank you. And anyway, first that prediction thing you are working on itself is a big thing. If you can achieve that and can be given to different areas so that the disaster management team can make use of this, because I was quietly associated with the disaster management team during the 2 landslides and the floods which happened. And we have seen that we lost so many lives, and there was a lot of theoretical work has happened, but we have to convert it into early prediction systems. And last year we were lucky that we made a trial run and we were able to predict a landslide, and we were able to move out about 150 people before the landslide happened. So 2 hours before we were able to evacuate them. So your studies will be an added advantage to that sort of development, and look forward to hearing from more practical output from your research studies which is going on. Congratulations for the excellent work being done.